Hello, so I like to have a very small, informal presentation. We thought we put it in and giving you a little bit of overview of what IFC is, the International Finance Corporation, and how to work with IFC. I'm open for questions because this is really a very short presentation, and just to give you a little bit of a teaser and a taste. And I know that many of you already have the experience of working with us. So if you have questions, let me know, and I'll just go very quickly through. As you know, the IFC is a member of the World Bank Group. We provide investment, advice, and resource mobilization globally. We have a AAA rating, and we're owned by 184 countries. So this is a little bit of a different organization. We are not a private sector one. We are a public organization, and our shareholders are countries. We are present in nearly 100 countries around the world. The World Bank Group has 5 separate organizations. The best known is the International Bank for Reconstruction and Development, the IBRD, which is the World Bank. The World Bank gives loans to governments in middle-income and credit-worthy low-income countries. So these are loans with governments negotiated with government guarantees. The second organization, which is managed by the World Bank, it's basically sharing the same staff, is the International Development Association. The International Development Association gives interest-free loans and grants to governments of the poorest countries. The IDA is the one organization that is not funded through the markets. It's funded through grants by governments, and it's replenished every 3 years. So because the loans are interest-free, there is no income in IDA. Then you have the International Finance Corporation. We provide solutions for private sector companies, and unlike IBRD or IDA, we only work with the private sector. We do not accept government guarantees. That's a very different set of clients that we're working with, not governments, but private sector clients. Then you have MIGA, the Multilateral Investment Guarantee Agency. Yes. MIGA is providing guarantees to private sector companies to secure or guarantee certain very special risks, like expropriation risks. They're non-commercial risks, but they have to be very well defined. And the last one is the International Center for Settlement of Investment Disputes. It's an arbitration body. So if you have investment disputes, they will be settled. So IFC has been founded more than 6 decades ago. We mobilize private capital for development. We have more than $265 billion invested since inception. It's the world's largest development finance institution focused purely on the private sector. We work very closely with our colleagues in the World Bank, and we find increasingly new ways of how to leverage each other. It's actually quite exciting to doing that and to explore how far we can use the platform that we have as IFC and that we have as the World Bank. We have $4.6 billion invested in IDA countries. So it's definitely an institutional group that has an experience working in different and exciting environments, but also many times difficult environments. Long-term investment commitments on an annual basis, so that means the investments that IFC makes annually are about $12 billion in financial year 17, and we're mobilizing a significant amount from third parties. Third parties can be banks, commercial banks, other development institutions, private funds. We're basically looking where we can mobilize funding from others so that we can increase our investment amounts, are not restricted by our own capital, but we also mobilize capital from others. As you can see, the growth has been relatively moderate over the last 5 years. I can tell you I'm with the IFC for quite a while. It had been much more accelerated in the early 2000s, but it has been more moderate over the last 5 years. But it's growing, and I think the objective is we're going for a capital increase to get a better foundation for future growth. IFC's global network for solutions. So we work with 2,000 plus clients. That's an enormous base that we have and that we've built up over the years. These are all private sector clients. We work with sovereign wealth funds, institutional investors, governments, and financial institution clients. We work with other development institutions. You have seen DEG at this conference. We try to collaborate, and not try, we are collaborating. We work with bilateral donors, and we work with civil society. So we have a strong engagement with NGOs. We try to listen to all stakeholders that we are facing in the projects that we have around the world. And actually, it's one of the benefits of working with IFC is that we have a lot of experience in working with different parties that are affected by projects and investments in emerging markets, specifically in the least developed countries. You've heard yesterday Indorama. It's a fantastic story where they really have worked and taken advantage of community development experiences and how to use this to make a project viable and actually very successful financially. So when we work with clients, we always ask them, we send out a survey that can be quite lengthy actually and probably a little bit cumbersome. But we asked them about what their experience is with working with IFC. And we get a lot of responses. We always love the positive ones, but we also get constructive responses. The positive one is they really do like the partnership. If we work with our clients, we try to establish a long-term partnership. And that usually does not come out when things are okay. It usually comes out if things don't go very well. So it might not be easy to go through a difficult patch, and I can promise you IFC is not easy to work with in a difficult patch, but we will not run away. We will stay, and we will work it through. And I think that's an important part. So we do take the long-term partner role very serious. The next one is the financing is not readily available. That's a very classical statement, and as you know, in many countries liquidity is there. So yeah, but is it at the right term? Is it long enough? There are a lot of different ways of how IFC can get involved, and is it the right form of financing? So that's another way of how we can get involved. This stamp of approval clause is always an interesting one. So we work with many parties in countries where the different stakeholders know if IFC has been involved, there has been a process that the company, the project had to go through. And the process affects a lot of different areas that you look at. And specifically when it comes to the environmental and social standards, but also to whom we are working with in countries that we are active in. If we get engaged, there has been quite a lot of research behind it, a lot of investigation. We do not engage, we have a very strong check on whom we're engaging with, who these parties are. We do look into the environmental and social side, and this is the stamp of approval where people say, yes, if IFC is involved, we know this is a project we can get involved into. So you can get more parties included into the project, and it has more interest in the wider financing society. And it means also that once you have IFC attracted, you might not need IFC the next time. Because now you have had access to different parties that provide financing. Yeah, the ability to mobilize additional funds is always an interesting, opportunity, which is IFC cannot provide 100% of the financing needed. We always try to be in a minority, so we don't want to be more than 25% on average of the project financing. So we have to get others in, which is also the objective that we have. Advice based on global expertise. This is a part that becomes increasingly more important, and I think this conference shows it is important to bring in expertise that you have on a global basis and try to move it from one country to another. So we have built up over the years expertise in different areas, be it community development, be it how to structure transactions so that you can have a better environmental sustainability, how to train farmers to have a better connection to the markets, that they do the right things with the fertilizer, how to help companies to access the different groups. There is a lot of advice that is needed, and we become more structured on providing this advice. It's a major line of our business, and increasingly we do charge for giving advice. So it's not a free service. We have donors who provide us funding for advisory projects, but we also start charging our clients for providing advice. So we have a worldwide